Hey, I'm Brian, and welcome back to Vinyl Paints. I know the holiday season can be difficult for a lot of people, so I hope you're taking care of yourself and the people around you. What you're seeing in the background is a test I finally did on the Sumi Ink I bought in the summer. Why am I finally testing it out now? Well, I kind of have to jump between two different jobs in these videos, one as a cell painter and one as an inker. Sometimes I will ink a few paintings in a row just so I can keep that momentum going, but it can have the unintended consequence of making me a bit out of practice when I pick up the pen again. Just before the holidays, I was about to start on a major project. I decided that maybe I should do another set of Pocket Toons. Pocket Toons are these quick cell paintings about the size of a business card just to help refresh my penmanship, get some variety in before I settle down to do a large project. And out of the 9, I felt maybe 2 or 3 were usable. I was struggling to get the ink to flow properly, my lines were messy. I even tried switching the nib because I just couldn't get it to flow. I wasn't sure what was wrong. I've used the super black pigmented ink for over a year now, and it's been pretty reliable, but I just felt defeated. I think the culprit was that I've been using the same ink for about a year, and maybe it's gotten a little bit gunky from opening it and closing it over the year. Around this time, I also got hit with a cold, and I've slowly been getting over it, but I definitely felt just defeated, and I was going to abandon the project altogether when I remembered the words of British political poets Chumbawamba. I get knocked down, but I get up again. And so I decided to spend the next few days testing some inks and leveling up my inking skill. And since I wasn't feeling well enough to go out, I experimented with the Sumi Ink, and although it was slower to work with, eventually it yielded better results. So in this video, I'm also going to be splicing in some of my tub thumping moments. These are moments where I learned something, failed at something, or embarrassed by something. Moments that, for lack of better saying, I had to get back up again. As for my thoughts on Sumi Ink, it's a great alternative to Speedball Super Black. It does take longer to dry, you really have to let it sit overnight, but once it's dry, it's actually just as durable, if not slightly more durable than the Super Black acrylic ink. Also, when I decided to do inking again, I switched from the traditional nib to a Crow quill holder and 102 nib from Speedball. I felt like I had to just really level up and try different things and get out of my comfort zone in order to progress as an inker. As you can tell, I'm still getting over this cold, so bear with me. The last thing I do is I usually do the voiceover. As you've probably guessed from my intros, I do listen to records as I paint, so I really can't use any of the audio when I'm actually recording. The goal with these Pocket Toons was to make them factory style, one color at a time. I would do all the blacks, then do all the whites, the greens, and so on and so on and so forth. Because I'm not really focusing in on one character at a time, it's going to be very difficult to just exclusively talk about my experience painting with one character because I'm moving around so much, so quite often it's not going to line up with what I'm saying with what you're seeing, and I just wanted to give you a heads up about that. I think it's time for another one of those tub thumping moments. I get knocked down, but I get up again. You're never gonna keep me down. And this might not look like it, but this was actually a big tub thumping moment. This is Ace Heart and Detective Pikachu. This isn't one of those fails that you can even see really easily because you look at it and it looks pretty good. This is one of those fails that really hit after the painting was done. When I flipped it over for the reveal, I noticed that there was some warping on the cell. It's not visible from every angle, but definitely very visible. I think this was caused because the cell paint was thick, and as it dried, it kind of contracted, kind of warping the paper or warping the cell. On camera it appears like bumps, but it was way more noticeable in person. I went online, reached out to anyone who could help me trying to find out information. I made a fool of myself too doing this because I didn't really know how to describe it. I called it all sorts of names that I wasn't really sure of, just trying to get any sort of help. Definitely got egg on my face a few times. And I felt pretty low after this because I just invested in a stack of cells and I was like, oh no, they're all going to come out like this. I'll never be able to stack them. I'll never be able to work with them. Eventually I was able to find out something that worked, but this one hurt. This was one of those moments that really kind of shook my confidence, even though it is one of my favorite paintings. I do try and keep up with my comments and my emails, and if you're wondering why I picked these characters, I picked most of them from the comment section as well as the interactions I've had with subscribers via email or conventions. So if you have any ideas, put them below. Kim Possible was the moment that broke me when I was doing the original pen and ink. I just kind of was like, I'm not liking this, it's so hard, I give up. But on the second attempt, I was able to achieve some very fine lines that I've never been able to achieve before. And that's the combination of using the new ink and the Chromacolour. And honestly, it may have broke me, but I came back stronger. Mr. Bean was one of the suggestions I found in the comment section. I had never seen Mr. Bean, but I'm a big fan of the live action Mr. Bean, so I thought this could be fun. It was a little bit challenging because Mr. Bean, the animation is a little bit weird where it has these very thick outlines, but then very small internal lines as well. I wasn't sure if that was going to translate well to cell animation, but I gave it a try, and honestly, I think it looks great. Johnny the Homicidal Maniac. This is one of the ones that they ended up having 2 versions of. It was one of the 9 that I was like, this is passable, I could make this into a cell painting. And I'm so glad that it did, because my initial reaction when I was suggested this painting was, I don't really want to do it, black and white's kind of boring. So I was like, kind of part of the fun of animation is color. And so I actually decided to give it a skin color, just give it some colors based on what I would think they would be. But then I was like, you know what? I think I could do something really cool if I'd make it black and white. And luckily I had the other one there, and I tried, and it turned out to be one of my favorites of this set. I think it's time for another one of those tub thumping moments. I get knocked down, but I get up again. You're never gonna keep me down. And this is a minor one from GTO. I've been rewatching Avatar: The Last Airbender, and I got Fire Lord Ozai's name stuck in my head. So when I came to recording the dialogue for Shading and Tones, I was showing a GTO cell, and I said Great Teacher Ozai instead of Onizuka, which kind of sounds like Fire Nation, like I was referring to a Fire Nation propaganda film, and not a major mistake, but it was still kind of embarrassing. Aku. I think there's a reason why I keep featuring Gendy's stuff on this channel, and I think it's because him and his team are some of the masters of animation right now. I knew this one was going to present certain challenges. Unlike a lot of the other characters we've seen today, Aku doesn't have any line art, if you will. Not traditional line art. There's no blackout line around things, it's just the color and then it ends. And so I approached this one knowing that that was going to be a little bit of a difficult part. And my only regret is that I wish I'd gone maybe closer up on the face so I could have actually done it, because I think it was actually working. And I'd like to do this character again, but maybe on a fuller size. One thing I'm going to throw in here, the smaller the line art, the more precise you have to be with the painting. Judy Jetson. I typically try to stay away from characters where there's existing cells in the market. It's not a firm rule, it's just something in general. I feel like, hey, my time's better used to paint something that hasn't been painted. But this one is a bit of an inside joke between me and a friend, and I wanted to give it to him as a gift. I will say though, this one was one of the ones that also gave me a lot of trouble with when I was using the super black ink, and this was definitely one of those turning points in my head where I'm like, I am absolutely done with this. Charlie from the Has-Been Hotel. I'm going to say this. There was a show that was on in the thousands called Brace Face, and for some reason I've only seen the first episode of Has-Been Hotel, and it's pretty good. But I noticed that I couldn't unsee it once my mind made that mental connection, but I just saw that Charlie looked like Brace Face. I'll put up a picture. And once I saw that, I just couldn't separate the two characters. And this is another one of the ones that I think turned out absolutely amazing. I would love to see the Has-Been Hotel cell animated. Obviously it's not, but it still looks amazing, and I was actually really happy with how it turned out. I think it's time for another one of those tub thumping moments.
I get knocked down, but I get up again.
This is a minor one, but it's more of an attention to detail failure. I think this is one of my favorite paintings, but honestly, how in the world did I overlook the fact that I forgot to give the Blue Eye Samurai blue eyes? It's kind of embarrassing. Adventure Time. I don't know how I know absolutely nothing about this show. Everyone, I think it's one of those things where sometimes a friend recommends you something. They're like, you gotta watch this. And they keep telling you you have to watch something that you end up like, no, out of principle now, I'm not gonna watch it. I watched a few clips while researching this and finding I guess a suitable image to convert. I was enjoying it. So now I guess this is one of those moments where I have to learn from my mistakes and now get around to watching it. But in terms of actually painting it, it's relatively simple. I do still find it hard to do like perfect circles with or do circles with the ink pen. So I was having problems on the head of the dog, Master Chief. I followed a step-by-step how to draw tutorial for this one, and it turned out well, and the tutorial was great. And honestly, I think it looks good, but it's still a little bit too complex, or maybe not complex, maybe too geometric. And I feel like I could have probably found a better reference in order to kind of cell paint this. I even thought about afterwards about Halo Legends, and I actually think the design of the Spartans in Halo Legends look better. Like I said, not disappointed with this one, just on second thought, I would probably do this in a different way. Invader Zim. This is one of the ones that was suggested to me a long time ago as well. Invader Zim was not cell animated, but I really feel it should have been. Honestly, I think that's my answer to everything. It should all be cell animated. It was a lot of fun to actually put it into a cell animation, and I know eventually I'm going to end up doing a GUR, so I won't say too much because eventually Zim will appear on this channel again. I think it's time for another one of those tub thumping moments.
I get knocked down, but I get up again. You're never gonna keep me down.
This could have been one of those knockout moments. It was my first mixed media painting where I used fiber optics and combined them with cell paintings. I was really worried the fiber optics would pop out. So I went to the store, bought the most expensive crazy glue, and went through tubes of this stuff. It ended up having a chemical reaction and melted all my fiber optic cables. I lost a ton of materials and money plus time, and I was tempted just to give up. Not give up on the painting, just give up on the fiber optics. I ended up doing 2 fiber optic paintings, and I'm glad that I did get up and I tried this one again because my instincts were telling me, maybe this is a good time to walk away. I suppose it's time for the big reveal. I'm super happy with how these turned out. Some exceeded my expectations, and I really feel like I've brought my inking to a new level, and I'm going to try my best not to promise saying, oh, I'm going to revisit this character here, even though I really want to say it, because I have so many other projects on the go, but I really hope I get to paint some of these characters again. I have a couple of other projects on the go right now, and one of the videos that I'm doing is actually about my experience buying from an auction house that I've never dealt with before. And that video should be out in the next week or two. If you have any questions regarding that or any just general cell buying questions, hit me up on my email, my Instagram, leave a comment below, and maybe I can address that in my next video. One of the things that has always drawn me towards traditional animation and cell painting are the flaws. It's not perfect. And somehow that's the charm. It's the incomplete line arts, it's the slightly discolored frames. But animation is always about trying to become better, trying to achieve perfection. And that's kind of like life. It's not perfect, but it's the realization that it's this quest for perfection, not actually achieving perfection that matters. I hope everyone continues to get back up, try new things, and keep searching for your own perfection. And regardless of whether it's a new year or some random Tuesday, keep on tub thumping. Thanks for watching. I'm Brian, and this is Vinyl Paints.